What's up, everyone? I just wanted to. So, today we're going to get into the heart of the matter of why, what's the main ingredient that has prevented us from making that shift. And it's about justice, it's about nonviolence, and of course that stems from love. So, anyway, so one of the main rules or laws of nature is that we're all one, we're all connected, right? In it's hard for us to understand that, but on a subconscious level, on a spiritual level, we're connected somehow, some way. But there's a definite, we're one unit, we're one, you could say, one being, the whole, everything that's living, non-living is like one being. And so that automatically throws out the window one of the main things that Christianity has taught, for at least the Christians that I've seen, is that there's going to be a few that are saved and the rest are going to be thrown out or whatever, go to hell or whatever you want to call it. But the fact that we're all one goes against that principle. The lost sheep goes against that principle. The 99 and the one you should go fetch. So I strongly believe that we're all one and that we're all in this boat together. We're all going to make it or we're all not. And so that presents a big problem because our culture hasn't taught us that. Our culture has taught us good and evil. Evil must be rid with, evil must be rid of before we can live in a nice place. And I think that is, just the main problem. It's that worldview, it's that belief that there are evil people out there that we have to get rid of in order for this to be a heaven on earth. And that mentality is the main problem. So let's talk a little bit about evil. What is evil? So good is basically the spirit of love, right? Which is connection, which is having that spirit of love towards everything, not just a few, but towards everything in the external world. And of course, you have to have that same spirit within yourself. It must come from within, not from without, right? Not from, that feeling. That spirit must come from within you. And so it's that spirit that is on the one hand, right? Evil is trying, so we all come from this one unity, this one connection. We go back again to the same thing. We go back again to love and free will. Free will is the individual. Love is the unit, is the whole, is the subconscious spiritual whole. And the individual is the free will. So we start in unity. We start in this whole, and then we disconnect, we become individuals, and so we disconnect from the whole on a conscience level. Subconsciously, we're still connected. On a conscience level, though, we disconnect, and we find our will and our power and our creative force within, and then we come back to the unit again, but consciously. That's That's the journey of the hero, right? That we're all supposed to take. We're all supposed to take that. So what happens with evil is that what I mean by evil is people that do a lot of harm to others. So people who have killed a lot of people, who consciously just don't care about doing harm to others. It doesn't have to be kill, but it can just be harm, like means. So we get to means and ends. So do the means justify the ends, right? I mean, do the ends justify the means? So the ends do not justify the means. The means are the ends. That's the real answer. But there's a lot of people that believe that the ends justify the means, so that we can do all these horrible things because it's a good cause. But horrible things are never a good cause. They're just horrible things. So what happens with evil is that just people who believe in ends justifying means. So by any means necessary, we've all heard that. And so that's what evil is. And it's not. It's just disregard for others' well-being and others' life and others in general. But why does this happen? Why do people think they can? So we all want to go back to that unit, we all want to go back home. We all want to go back home. Where is home? Home is that place that we all love, that we all come from, and we all want to go back to. So how do we get back there, though? That's the problem. I mean, a lot of people are in like a hell world, and they're like, this place sucks. I mean, they're in hell. And they don't know how to get back to that place of peace, of love, of joy, of ecstasy, of fulfillment. And so, and that's where we come from too. And we're all going to go back consciously. So what happens with evil is that they try to force going back to the unity. So they try to connect, and what that basically translate into is like the will to power, which a lot of philosophers have talked about. And it's just the will to accumulate power in the world, which is basically trying to connect to that whole, but through the wrong means, like by force, not by surrendering and by love and by serving, but by force, by forcing unity. And forcing unity is basically accumulating either power in some way, either material well-being or just trying to control the external world. And so we see a lot of like very powerful people, powerful in man's eyes, right? Very powerful people that are very evil, right? They believe that ends justify the means, and at the same, so we get into like institutions that's the exact definition of an institution. The only objective of an institution is to grow. And so it doesn't really matter how we grow for institutions, it's just growth. And so that's why large institutions don't usually have a great ethical, resume. So whether it be governments or big corporations, because their objective is to grow, and they'll find a way to grow. They'll find a way to grow. It doesn't matter how they're going to find the people in the right places to continue to grow. And so we have this battle, we have the institutions, the bigger the institutions get, the more blind they are as to what they're actually doing, And the further away they get to what an individual's purpose is, which is to serve, which is to connect, which is to surrender, which is to love, you know. And so there's these two opposites. But individuals who actually, so those are institutions, we can't really do anything about that, but you know, individuals control institutions in the end. But when individuals are stuck on the will to power, it's because they're trying so hard to achieve, they want love. Like, that's what they want. They want love so much, and their drive towards achieving that, and it's subconscious, they don't know that, but that's what is driving them. That's why they have so much energy, so much drive, and so much passion. And it is what I've discovered in a lot of my journeys, you know, in the spiritual world, is that they are super close to like God, to like light, because they're trying so hard to love or to be loved on a subconscious level, which manifests in horrible ways on this earth. And so they're trying so hard for that. And the only way they will convert to light is to be shown what love is. And that's why we need to love evil. And you can't coerce evil. You can't fight evil with evil. That's just because evil will never bow down to their own means, because they know it's wrong. They know that's not what they want and what they need. But that's what they get on a daily basis, is because they're fighting everyone with evil, and they get evil back thrown at them. And so they just continue, and it's just get worse and worse and worse and worse. But as soon as they're shown unconditional love, as soon as they see that, they can flip like in an instant. And that's our job as human beings, is to bring light to darkness. And so there's a lot of darkness out there, and if we think we can go and coerce darkness with darkness, somehow transforming that into light, is just not going to happen. That's not how the laws of nature work. It has to be us being the light in spite of darkness around us, us being the light from within and transforming that darkness into light. And it's unconditional. There's no fear in love. There's absolutely no fear in love. When you're in light, when you're generating light from within, there's no fear. And so non-violence, many people associate with weakness, with fear, with, you know, bowing down, with you know, like turning the other cheek, all these type of things that we've heard from the Bible. They associate it with weakness, and it's actually, like I said in it's like the ultimate act of will. If you do it with fear, then it's not love anymore, right? If you're just bowing down because you're afraid and you think, oh, this is the right thing to do, it's not the right way. It has to be with love. Like, love is not fear, and love is not obedience either. Love is not obedience. So if we're just obeying someone thinking we're loving them, that's not love. Like, love is generated from within, and it's that feeling of unconditional love towards the external world. And you generate that feeling, and you can have that feeling towards everything around you. And so so that's why we must, so that's the main, that's one of the main reasons why, you know, mainstream Christianity has failed, is because they just don't address this issue. They don't address the issue of violence. It's just kind of like the dirty little secret. Like, we're good Christians. We do good to everyone except for people who do harm to us, right? And so it's just not really addressed in a profound way. And it's just blatantly ignoring like what they follow in the first place, which is supposedly like Jesus Christ and his teachings in the Gospels of the Bible. It's just blatant like disregard. And so, and it's hard though. It's not something easy. But culture is molded, like I said, by these 10,000 years of evolution that we've gone through, which has brought us to a good place. Now we have this. So I'm not here to judge like previous generations or previous, what people did in the past with violence or things like that. I mean, we're in a new era now. We're in a new time where we've reached a certain stage of development, where we can move into consciousness and understand these things fully. And I think it's time for the whole human community to move into this new stage of consciousness. So that's the main, if you can jump into this and truly commit to nonviolence and unconditional love, if you can, because it's such a big step, because everyone always brings up the same questions over and over. Well, what if someone comes into your house? What if someone tries to rape your daughter? That's the first thing everyone tells you, right? Oh, you're a pacifist. You don't believe in violence. Well, what if someone came into your house? That's the first thing everyone says. But it's, and I've told people this before, if we change our mindset, when we jump off that cliff and commit to nonviolence and to unconditional love, when we jump off and we surrender and we submit to that will of the Supreme Being, then we're in the Supreme Being's hands. And we develop, and we inherit that power of the Supreme Power too, though. And that's the amazing thing. So it's quite the opposite. Like, if you want to protect your family, if you want to protect your loved ones, then I would suggest remaining in that spirit of unconditional love. If something happens, if some dark force comes towards you, the best way to protect yourself and others surrounding you is remaining within that spirit of light. And then you develop, like, you're going to be 1,000 times more powerful than if you have guns or if you have, all these things that man's developed to protect themselves with man's means. So it's irresponsible to protect your family with violence. It's irresponsible because you don't have any power with violence. Real power lies in remaining within the spirit of the Lord, and that spirit will protect you. I mean, I've seen it so many times in my life, and where I've been in dangerous situations, I've remained in the spirit, and it leaves, like it just goes. And it might not always happen, but the power of God versus the power of man and man's weapons and all these things it's kind of like saying the U.S. Armed Forces versus a kindergarten. Who's gonna win? The kindergarten is man and his little weapons, and the U.S. Armed Forces is like God. There's no contest. So if you can make that leap of faith into this world, there's just something else. It's just a world of beauty, know that you'll encounter. And you can't see it now because you haven't jumped off the cliff into that state of being, into that mindset, into that worldview. But once you do it, like make that leap of faith, then things happen in your life that, that you never knew would happen. And so I invite you all today to take that leap of faith and jump into that world, surrendering, the forces of violence, just saying, we're not going to do that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. And I will I'm going to be empowered through God now. I'm not going to be empowered through man's means of protection and of self-defense and of, I'm going to use God as my weapon. And God is love, so I invite you all to take that step today. It's my testimony that you will be 1,000 times more powerful if you do take that step. You will not be weak. You will be powerful. You will be a light among, to others. You will not be. And so, anyway, we'll continue later. But have a good one. Bye.